Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about my garden fails this year, some my fault, and then some of it's pest damage and other things in my garden. Because remember, when you garden, they don't always work out how you want them to work out. A lot of times you fail at things. So I'm going to show you what's not worked for me this year, some that was my fault, and then just other things in the garden that just didn't do well. So let's get to it. All right, since we're talking about garden fails. Remember how I said this blue Hubbard squash was doing a good job resisting the vine borers? Not so much. Every single one of them got a vine borer in them. And you can see this is what happens when they get a vine borer in them. Let me see if I can show you where I patched them up. Now I have no guarantees this will work. But I cut open the vine on one side. I pried it open a little bit and I dug the vine borer out, and then I wrapped it with floral tape. Same thing right here. I found a vine borer in this one. And then those also. This is the only one that doesn't have a vine borer in it, and I hope it keeps going. But you can tell by the wilted poor vines. I don't know if it's gonna make it, but I mean, they were doing amazing, so it's really sad that they got to them. I was trying to kill everyone I saw. I mean, I'll still get a harvest off this, just not as much as I wanted. I'm going to show you a couple things here. Now, these are my cucumbers, and they look terrible this year, and I mean terrible. I've never had them look this bad. You can see that it's yellowing at the bottom. A lot of them are crispy and dying. Just for some reason, I've had a lot of pests on my cucumbers this year, and I've gotten a lot off so far, but they just look bad, and I just don't feel like if I treat them, it's going to make it any better. So, I mean, I have some on there, but I'm just going to let them keep going until they die, basically, or until it gets too bad. Oh, look at this. Just caught this out of the corner of my eye. Look. See the eggs on there? Squash bug eggs. I've been battling them like crazy. Now, remember, squish these. You don't want to leave them on there or just pull them off. You need to kill them. But I know this doesn't look like a fail, but my zucchini and my squash, you can tell that they're all wilting. Even though it's a little hot, those are wilting because I have borers in them. Okay? And I have borers in this one too. Even though this was doing surprisingly well for having a borer in it, it is still beasting it. So I'm going to leave this one in. But the rest of these I'm probably going to pull out because I already did new starts, and they're ready to go in the garden soon. So these I'm going to pull out. The borers have been terrible this year, and they got to my spaghetti squash too. But I have a lot of spaghetti squash on there, and I'm going to get a good harvest off of that. They didn't get to that until the very end, so I'm really thankful about that. The borers this year, I already showed you my blue Hubbards. My blue Hubbards were just destroyed by them. Remember, this is the corn that I had to replant, and then these little ones right here is the 8-year-old corn. I did a video on that one for the seeds that were 8 years old. Remember, I replanted some cucumbers, so that's why I'm not worried about these. I'll just take whatever I can off these and then pull them out, but I replanted more, which I'm going to try to baby because I don't want those to go down. Alright guys, here's another fail, I guess, on my end, because these are Rutgers tomatoes. I swear the packet said that they were determinate and they set all their fruit at once. These don't look determinate. These suckers have been growing to where they fell over and are still growing, laying over. These got to be indeterminate, but maybe it was my fault. Maybe I misread it. These are definitely not determinate, because determinates only get to a certain size and then set all their fruit. This keeps growing and growing and growing like a weed. And I mean, it's giving a ton of fruit. And I didn't prune this because I thought it was a determinate. I mean, I'm gonna get a lot of fruit off of it, but I wasn't expecting it to be indeterminate. So I did not trellis these or anything, and this just gone like a huge wild bush. But I'm gonna check that packet again. I swear it said determinate. Maybe it was labeled wrong. Sadly, this is a fail for me. I really wanted to grow a lot of cantaloupe this year. I do have one in the garden that's doing pretty good. This one, oh man, it looks super rough. And it does have 2 baby cantaloupes on it. But Lord knows if those are gonna even do anything. I don't know what's happened with this year. It's looked yellow since I planted it. And there was no bugs on it. I checked it, so I don't know what is happening. I've fed it on the same schedule as everything else. It's just not done well. And sometimes, no matter how much you baby something or you want it to work, it just fails. And that's okay. That's part of life. That's how you learn. That's how you try to do something different next year. But cantaloupe, at least this one, is a fail for me this year. Not really a fail. I'd say it's more like a half fail. I'll say that. Is my pumpkins. Now my pumpkins looked amazing. And I had a bunch of pumpkins on it that were getting big. But you can tell, see the dying vines? They've been watered, but they're dying like this because they have vine borers in them. And I tried my best. The vine borers were really bad this year. I've killed, I don't know how many. But you can see, this is what was happening. They're already turning orange, and it's not time for them to turn. So I'm pretty sure it's the vine borers. I mean, you can see how big it was getting. They were doing beautiful, and they just kept setting everywhere. But not now. And you can see just how terrible it looks. This is vine borer damage. I know because I came out here the other day and I found some. I actually dug a vine borer out of here. Okay? And you can tell you have a vine borer by looking at the stem, and I'll show you. See this right here? It kind of looks like an orange cottage cheese. Okay? And you'll see it right here. Oh, there's a vine borer right there. Let's see if we can get him out of there. I don't know if you can see that little white worm in there. That's a vine borer. Whenever you see this orange looking cottage cheese on your vines, you have a vine borer. I'm going to dig him out. Let's see how good I can do one-handed. But I don't know if you see that little white dot. You can't actually usually see him this good, but I guess the vine is. See how it's just going away? Let's see if I can cut in here. These are coming out, by the way, so I'm not worried about trying to save. There we go. Oh, he's a big one. Okay. See that worm? I just dug him out. Come on out of there. There we go. So you see that worm? It looks like a big grub with a black head. That's a vine borer. They will destroy your plants in 2 seconds. And the borers got to my plants. Just dropped him, but I cut him in half, so he's dead. But they do that. You'll see those little spots on your plant. I mean, they're everywhere on this. So I'm literally, it's right there too. It looks like cottage cheese. Right there. I mean, it's everywhere. These are just infested with them. I'm going to take all these out. Obviously, I'm going to rip the pumpkins off first and see if they'll last. They should. And I have another pumpkin right there that's turning. But these are just too far gone. It's not worth saving, trying to save. But I'm going to rip them out and burn all these. And I'm going to try to kill all of the borers beforehand. Okay, guys. I knew I wasn't crazy. I knew I read it correctly. And don't think bad of this company, because I love getting my seeds from this company. They have amazing seeds and selection, okay? These are the record tomatoes I was talking about that I said were determinate. But when I showed you them, they are not determinate. They are still growing. They're indeterminate. Now here's the back of the package. I don't know if you can see it. It says determinate right there in the first line. Record tomato, determinate. I knew I wasn't nuts. I felt a little nuts, but I wasn't. But I mean, I'm still going to plant these. I'm still going to use these next year. I'm going to save them until I use them all, until they won't germinate anymore. But I mean, I have nothing against this company. Mistakes do happen, and that's fine. But this plant has given me a ton of tomatoes, so I'm not going to complain. Just next year, I know that I have to trellis these bad boys better, because it's going to have set a lot of fruit, and they are not determinate. I don't think that's a fail on my part. I think it was just a printing error on the back of this. Okay, that's it for my gardening fails. Now, some of the fails were my gardening fails personally, because I didn't either take care of it or find the bugs or whatever it was, but some of them were just nature's fails. Can't help it. It is what it is. And then some of it was printing errors, but that's fine too. That when you know you're gonna have something, if you've gardened long enough, you know that my squash and zucchini, they're gonna go down. Mine do it every year, no matter how bad I try to kill the squash bugs and the vine borers. I know they go down, so what am I gonna do? I'm gonna plant backups. I just started my seeds a couple weeks ago. They're doing great. They're getting ready to be transplanted out. I still want squash and zucchini through the rest of the summer, and I don't just want it to be at the beginning. So I plant backups. If you live in a colder climate and you can't restart it like we can, because we're very blessed to have a long growing season here, do it in succession planting. Do one month, and if you know, hey, I know this is going to happen, so I'm going to plant another one while I still can, and put it in a different part of the garden. You can do that too, and see if you get a bigger haul of whatever it is. If you have the space to do it, do it. I would encourage you guys to do that. Don't give up. I had a viewer tell me that it's hard on them because the squash bugs get their or the vine borers, the vine borers get their plants every year. It's going to happen, especially when you live in our climate in East Tennessee. Vine borers are everywhere. It's not just Tennessee, but they're really, really bad this year for some reason. But if you know that's gonna happen, try to plant another one, or be very diligent about going and picking off all of the eggs and trying to find the bugs and kill them. That's the only way you can truly have a good harvest if you don't want to use chemicals, which I don't use chemicals in my garden. I will use neem oil occasionally, but in order to have enough neem oil for my whole garden, I would have to buy a lot, and it can get expensive. Not everybody can afford expensive things sometimes. And I know I can't. Why do you think I'm having a garden? But I mean, I don't want to pay a ton of money out. I want the maximum yield I can. And next year I'm going to be even more diligent about trying to find the vine borers and looking for their eggs, because even if they do lay it on your plant and you find the eggs, you can still beat them at their own game. Sorry, the bugs are attacking me right now. They love me. But don't give up on your gardens. Don't get so frustrated that you say it's not worth it, because it is. Food sustainability is totally worth it. Especially if you can put something up, you feel like you've accomplished something. If you can grow those tomatoes or grow those squashes and put it up for the winter, you've done something good. that you don't have to rely on somebody else for. So keep going on your gardens. Don't give up. When you have fails or personal fails in the garden or pest fails, it's going to happen. But I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Look at this beauty. We got more beauties hiding. Look, I will jump for joy if I just get 2 of these. Just pulled off a ground cherry. These are wonderful. Always plant ground cherries.